Right, after all that house hunting, we finally got somewhere. This is a non-bed. Um, well, it's a room, and there's a bed in it. Perfect. We got the office, and the bathroom, which are they're one and the same. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, hopefully we'll be very happy here. Lots of space to. Well, there's not lots of space. It's a bed, and it does have a door to outside, which there's space out there. So there's that, and there is a light bulb up there, which is nice. It does turn on, which is not a given in this market. Um, yeah, forever home, forever home. Okay, so it's not actually the house we've got, but I do want to apologise to landlords. I think I was wrong to single out landlord when I talked about. Hello, Sean speaking. I'm not too bad, thanks. How are you? Yeah. And the viewing situation wasn't ideal. Tenants, and it was kind of like there was lots of us walking around it. I think there's another couple we've got coming up. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Cheers. Estate agents. We looked at a property yesterday. It had tenants in it that if we bought it, we'd have to kick them out so that we could live in there. The other people, there was another couple of people walking around while we were there, and they were asking the estate agent, like, oh, how much do the current tenants pay? How much could we get for it if we kick them out? It just felt so skeezy. And I know whoever buys it, they're either going to up the rent on them or turf them out. But I was saying that this wasn't about landlords. Or not that it's not about landlords, but that there are other bigger issues in our price range. And that comes down to this like modern method of auction. If you've not like been buying a house, you probably don't know what this is. It's the first time I'd ever heard of it. My existing knowledge of like selling a house at auction was it was this thing where if it was unsuitable for mortgage, if it was unsuitable for sale, you'd stick it on an auction. Someone with the money to buy it straight out would buy it and do it up. But now there's this kind of, I don't know how old modern method of auction is, but there's this new sort of in between where basically it's like the old kind of auction in that it is an auction. It's not just like a private agreement or whatever I can't remember the term for it. You know, the regular buying a house method where you offer an amount of money and they say, yeah, okay, or no. This modern method of auction, there's an amount up front, which is 4.5, 5, but potentially a minimum of 6,600, which does not come off the property. That is a payment to the auction house. So that is in lieu of a regular sale. So in a regular sale, you would pay, as someone who's selling their house, you would pay a fee to the estate agent to list it, to show people around, all that stuff. This fee for the auction is that fee basically. The problem is once you commit to buying it, you've then got 56 days to complete. In those 56 days, you have to come up with the money. You have to have paid that 5 or 4.5% auction fee, which is non-refundable. If for whatever reason the sale falls through, my understanding is, and this is what we've been told and what I read around the subject, that money isn't yours anymore. That is gone. 6.5 grand minimum is spent. You don't have anything to show for it. Now, I've sort of been told that this is not that likely to happen. So one of the possibilities is you can kind of go in before the auction starts and say, hey guys, would you take this much? They can say yes. You still then have to pay the auction house's fee, but you've agreed it outside of an auction. So you've gone into it knowing exactly what you're buying it for. Whereas with the auction it works like an auction. You bid, you might get it, you might not. We can't afford to lose that £6,500, potentially more, minimum £6,500. We can't afford to lose that. So it puts us in a very difficult position. Our mortgage advisor has said it can potentially be added onto the mortgage, but you've still got to get the mortgage in that 56 days. I don't know how that works. I don't know how. So there's some that you have to buy a pack, then you can have your solicitor look at it, then you can have the surveyor look at it. You can have the surveyor look at the property, the solicitor look at the document. It's very confusing where you would commit. The problem is, and the reason people like this is because they don't pay the fee, and the idea is that it sells your house faster. I don't understand that in this in the market at the moment, because selling your house is a fast process at the moment. They come on, they get snapped up. The fee, well, that just ends up like in the buyer's mind, they just subtract that from what they would want to pay. So you don't actually save any money as a seller. It doesn't seem like, anyway. And the thing is, these auction ones are all on the low end. There may be some as you get like £250,000 plus, but from the research that I've done, 60% of stuff in our price range, so that's less than £200,000, is modern auction. And once you go above that price range, you're looking at maybe a handful of properties on as auction. So above 250,000, I've seen like 4 or 5 out of all the properties that I kind of like looked at. Now we're not looking in that that price bracket, so I've not looked as many properties, but I'd say the rule is in our price range, there's a hell of a lot more going for this. And the reason going for this modern method of auction, and I think the big reason this hurts us is because it disincentivizes people buying with a mortgage. So it's looking, and this is back to landlords a little bit, but as many people have been sort of buy to let as have been flippers. So people who just want to buy it, slap some paint on it, put some new carpet down, new cupboards on the kitchen, and sell it on, make a profit, and just make something significantly more expensive that we're competing against them. All they're doing is kind of taking money out of our pocket. I don't blame anyone. Like, I don't blame the landlord situation. Also, the thing that I didn't get into with the landlord thing is it's the buy-to-let landlords, specifically going to look at properties because they can get a mortgage for them. I'm not talking about where you buy somewhere, you live in it, you don't want to sell it for whatever reason, and so we looked at a couple of places where we could pay off the mortgage in 5 years' time. If we then decide to do something like, I don't know, go traveling for a year, we would let that out. If we decide to do something that means us being somewhere else temporarily, we would let that out. And I know, like, that is quite a normal thing to buy somewhere, have it for a while. Maybe you're single and you do that, and then you meet someone and you move into somewhere else and you kind of keep your place. I'm not saying it's amazing for the economy and for new buyers, first-time buyers, but it's not like a malicious thing. It's not a money grab. It's just like the progression of life. Like, I feel like those first couple of videos I made about this, people watching them maybe missed the sort of nuance of my point. That's my fault. I am like, they, I was called a socialist, a communist, and while I do believe in, socialized protections for people, I also work within this capitalist society. I work in fucking advertising. Like, how much more capitalist can you get? I work in this world because I live in this world. I don't have to think it's the best version of this world. So yes, I could eventually inadvertently end up as a landlord. I wouldn't like that, but it could be a means to an end, much like me making advertising images is a means to an end. I enjoy it. It helps me live my life. And if that makes me a socialist or a communist, then whatever. But I think that's just people throwing around words that they think might be insults. The people who are going to paint a place and make 10 grand on it. That's effectively pricing us out, because we're not going to go and pay for that 10 grand more expensive house that we saw 3 months ago because you've painted it and put some kitchen doors on, because we don't like those kitchen doors. I can almost guarantee it. We already don't like the plaque that you've put on that has the house number on. That's one thing. Like driving around, you look at a property, you go, that's not for us, because it's got one of the fancy like glass grey number plaques, which is just a clear sign that that house has been like flipped. I don't know where they get them from, but they must think that it makes it look super lovely and fancy. We don't like the choices that those people are making, so it doesn't add any value to us. It detracts. It takes value away for us. Not entirely landlords. The system is what's fucked. Like, I don't judge the people in the system, because everyone's just trying to get by. It felt skeezy yesterday. It felt horrible yesterday, walking around this house where people were living literally as we were in there. Like the lady was cooking tea for the kids were all running about. Like, we couldn't go into one of the rooms because it felt weird, because like the 10-year-old daughter was in there, and I hated the whole experience. I really don't want to have to buy a house, but I need somewhere to live. And yeah, the fact that buy-to-let mortgages exist is not great. The fact that the modern method of auction exists doesn't seem great. It feels a bit exploitative. Exploitative. It doesn't feel great. And so obviously we're going to keep looking. We're looking at one that's an auction. Maybe we get it, maybe we don't. I don't know how that. We just have to like embrace the process, get into it, much like all the other things that go along with capitalism. I'm not saying capitalism's bad, it puts a roof over my head for the most part, although that it also makes that difficult. I don't know if that's cleared anything up. Has it made it less clear? I don't know. It's the system that's fucked. It's not the people within it. The people within it are just trying to do their best. Yeah? Can we agree on that? Thank you. Also, you do believe in socialism because the fire brigade exists.